I've been arrogant and unruly my whole life, so it was no surprise when on my first day back at the family mansion, the imposter son staged a dramatic fall from the second floor. When my sisters refused to even hear my side of the story and immediately moved to punish me, I looked at my eldest sister, Chloe, demanding an apology and just burst out laughing. It was the funniest thing I'd heard all year. Apologize. I slammed my palm down on the table. The solid marble tabletop cracked on the spot, sending a terrifying fissure straight through the entire thing. If I really wanted him dead, do you think you'd have a chance to protect him? I'd have folded him in half and stuffed him in a suitcase by now. Anything else? If not, I'm leaving. Go check the security cameras if you're so bored. That massive thing on the wall isn't just for decoration, is it? And cut the devoted siblings act. It's nauseating. Anyone who didn't know better might think there was something sordid going on between the four of you. Without another word, I turned and walked toward the front door of the mansion. I slammed it shut with deliberate force. With a deafening crash, the double doors were ruined. The left one teetered on its hinges, while the right one crashed to the floor. After I left, the four of them in the living room looked completely shell-shocked. The two-faced imposter, Spencer, was genuinely terrified this time. He quickly composed himself, putting on a hurt expression. "Sisters, did you hear that? My brother said he's going to kill me and stuff me in a suitcase." But right then, all three of them were silently staring at the cracked table, then looking up at the demolished front door. The room was dead silent. The second I was outside, I regretted it. I was flat broke, without even a place to stay. I'd never had to worry about money before and had never bothered to save. Now I had no idea where to go. After mulling it over, I figured I might as well go back and tough it out. No sooner had I thought it than I did it. I turned around and stormed right back into the Anderson mansion. Chloe started to walk over, ready to challenge me. "Not so tough now, are you?" But she stopped dead in her tracks when she saw the marble fragments littering the floor. Back in my room, I started taking stock of my assets. I thought I had at least $10,000 in savings, but a quick check of my account revealed a balance of $438. The number was just insulting. I shook my head with a bitter laugh and started to seriously consider my options. Aside from being a decent student, I was pretty much useless. Whatever, I decided to sleep on it. A few hours later, a furious pounding on my door woke me up. I stumbled out of bed, a scowl on my face, and went to open it. "What the hell are you knocking for?" Outside was Chloe, wearing her usual sour expression. She opened her mouth to speak, but I cut her off. "Spit it out or get lost. Don't interrupt my sleep. I'm in a foul mood right now, and if it weren't for the law, I'd beat you senseless." Facing her younger brother, Chloe was a little intimidated, but she steeled herself and said, "Mom and Dad want to see you." I gave a lazy grunt of acknowledgement and shuffled out. As soon as I hit the hallway, I saw Spencer with his tear-streaked face and Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, their faces ashen with rage. That confirmed everything. "Ethan, look what you've done." Mr. Anderson's face was dark with fury as he was the first to lash out. "We were kind enough to bring you home, and this is how you repay us? Who asked for your fake kindness?" I shot back. "Who told you to bring me here? Did you ever bother to ask what I wanted? It's not like I was begging to come back. You're going to be the death of me." Mrs. Anderson trembled with rage, pointing a shaky finger at me as if she were about to pass out. "Quiet!" Mr. Anderson bellowed before she could continue, his fists clenched at his sides. I maintained my cavalier attitude. "Why should I shut up? If you couldn't afford another kid, you shouldn't have bothered finding me, only to bring me back here to lecture me. What's that supposed to mean, Ethan?" Chloe was the first to react. "Who gave you the right to talk to our parents like that? Didn't your foster parents teach you any respect for your elders?" I lunged forward, grabbing Chloe by the collar and roaring hysterically, "You want a scene? Let's have one. I've got all the time in the world. Do you have any idea what my life was like? I couldn't even go to school. I spent my days washing clothes and cooking, getting beaten and screamed at for the smallest thing. If I made a mistake, I didn't get to eat." I shook her violently, letting out years of pent-up fury. "It's a miracle I'm even alive, and you have the nerve to stand here and criticize me? Did you think I was living a life of luxury?" I kept yelling, then backhanded Chloe across the face, so hard that no one dared to come near. Mr. and Mrs. Anderson rushed to pull me away, but I had completely lost control, smashing everything in sight like a cornered animal. "Get the hell away from me!" I screamed. "I never want to see any of you hypocrites again." The Andersons were all stunned into silence, having never seen me this unhinged. "You treat your enemy's son like a prince and me like dirt, and now you're asking me why I'm acting out? It was like a dam had broken. I poured out years of misery and resentment, not stopping until I had nothing left to say. Well, so much for the new furniture. Seeing them all too terrified to speak, I decided it was time for my masterstroke. I cleared my throat and laid my cards on the table. Here's the deal. Give me $5 million, and I guarantee I'll disappear from your lives forever. Whether I live or die, it'll have nothing to do with you. Do we have a deal? $5 million. I ran the numbers in my head. It was enough to live comfortably for years, and I'd be completely free of this toxic family. It was the perfect transaction. Mr. and Mrs. Anderson exchanged a look, their eyes filled with a complex mix of emotions. Then, as if on cue, they both turned to look at the trembling Spencer. Mr. Anderson thought to himself, if money is what it takes to get this menace out of our lives for good, it's a small price to pay. Fine, $5 million, Mr. Anderson said through gritted teeth, looking like a man at his breaking point. But remember, from this day forward, you have nothing to do with the Anderson family. I don't care if you become a king or a beggar on the street, don't ever come back. He was finally rid of this pest. Asterisk, what could some kid from the sticks ever amount to anyway? He'll be begging for scraps soon enough? Asterisk, that's what I was waiting to hear, I said, a smirk playing on my lips. All right, you get the money, and I'll go with you to the lawyer's office to sign the papers, get it all in writing. But I should warn you, my price is going up. Hearing this, Spencer finally relaxed. He put on a fake, concerned voice. But it's so dangerous for you out there all alone. Are you sure you don't want to reconsider? I gave him a giant middle finger in my head. I couldn't stand his phony act. I raised an eyebrow. Or what, I could stay and watch you all play one big happy family every day. The moment the words left my mouth, every head snapped in my direction, their eyes wide with a look that screamed, "Are you insane?" Madison was the first to snap, waving her hand dismissively. "If you're leaving, then leave. Stop wasting our time. The Andersons don't support freeloaders." Terrified I might change my mind, Mr. and Mrs. Anderson quickly added, "We'll give you the money now. Let's go sign the papers immediately." Seeing them in such a panic was deeply satisfying, but I loved money more, so I started to up the price. On second thought, $5 million isn't quite enough. $8 million sounds more appropriate, don't you think? Consider it a family ties clearance sale. This is extortion. Olivia shot up, pointing a finger in my face. Have you no shame? What clearance sale? You're just desperate for money. How much is shame worth? I can sell you some if you'd like, I said, rolling my eyes. Money is king these days. Pride leaves you hungry, shamelessness gets you fed. That's the simple truth. I held up 8 fingers. 8 million, not a penny less. That's the price for my freedom. Non-negotiable. Spencer instantly flew into a rage, barking like a dog whose tail had been stepped on. 8 million? Why don't you just rob a bank? Mom and Dad's money doesn't grow on trees. You don't deserve it. I widened my eyes in mock surprise and slowly held up 2 more fingers. Ah, you just reminded me. 10 million is a much better number. After all, robbing a bank is illegal. Spencer looked like he was about to keep yelling, but Chloe clamped a hand over his mouth, terrified of what he might say next. Mr. Anderson took a deep breath, as if making a monumental decision. 10 million, now get out. The Andersons can afford it. I nodded, satisfied. Deal. Today was my lucky day. On Monday, just as I walked through the school gates, I saw Spencer getting out of a luxury car. His eyes were filled with scorn. Well, if it isn't the great young master who got kicked out of his own home. You've already cut ties, so why are you still shamelessly showing your face at school? Don't tell me you're still hoping for the Anderson family's tuition money? I grinned back at him. Oh, you've got it all wrong. An opportunity to learn is like a limited edition collectible. You can't just waste it. I know you're the type who doesn't have to worry with your family's fortune, but don't look down on us hardworking types who have to make it on our own. I said this with a broad smile, but as soon as a crowd started to gather, I raised my voice. I mean, I already gave you my spot as the Anderson heir. What more could you possibly want? You're the one who was switched at birth, the imposter, and now you want to take away my right to an education. That's just cruel. I took a step forward as I spoke, putting on my most weak and helpless expression. If you just let me stay in school, I'll get on my knees and beg you right now. I've already given you my place as the true son. What more do you want? Do you have to drive me to my death to be satisfied? As soon as I said that, the students around us immediately started whispering among themselves. Oh my God, so the rumors were true. Spencer is actually an imposter. And he's so cruel, he forced the real heir out. If that were me, I'd have been so ashamed I would have disappeared. How can he still show his face? I guess he got addicted to the rich kid lifestyle. He can't accept that he's just a knockoff. The color drained from Spencer's face. He clearly hadn't expected this move and scrambled to explain. That's not what happened. He took $10 million from the family and cut ties voluntarily. I never forced him to do anything. I was laughing internally, but on the outside, I looked completely helpless. I'd even put a couple of drops of saline in my eyes beforehand. I looked at the crowd, my eyes red-rimmed. You were the one who staged that fall, but you insisted I pushed you. The whole family took your side. What was I supposed to do? I had no choice but to leave. This performance caught Spencer completely off guard. Is Ethan insane? He thought. Asterisk after turning the house upside down. Now he's playing the victim? It's sickening. Asterisk that day. The story of the imposter son bullying the true heir spread like wildfire. All the people who already disliked Spencer flocked to my side to show their support. When Spencer saw this in the classroom, his hand holding his pen was shaking with rage. He looked like he wanted to kill me right then and there. Life was pretty good for me now. Not only were classmates constantly offering to help me out, but even the teachers gave me special attention. This was all because I had shocked everyone by scoring first in the grade on a pop quiz. When the results were posted, Spencer was completely dumbfounded. He stared at the grade sheet, muttering over and over, "Impossible.
Absolutely impossible."
He couldn't wrap his head around it. In his mind, I was a failing student who could barely complete his homework. How could I transfer to an elite academy in Beverly Hills and suddenly score the top grade? He must have cheated, Spencer thought, absolutely certain. There was no other way. He immediately stormed into the teacher's office and declared, "I want to report Ethan for cheating." The teacher, Mr. Davis, had already heard the rumors about me. His expression soured. "Do you have any proof, Spencer?" "Of course." Spencer pulled out his phone and showed him photos of my old homework. "I saw his schoolwork when he first came to live with us. There's no way he could get first place. He was always at the bottom of his class." Mr. Davis took the phone and carefully examined the problems and my answers. Judging by the number of mistakes in the photos, it did seem highly unlikely that I could have placed first. The teacher's face grew dark. He stood up and said coldly, "I will get to the bottom of this." With that, he turned and headed for the classroom. Watching him go, Spencer smirked. Asterisk, "You think you can get away with this, Ethan? Just you wait." Asterisk, Mr. Davis walked right up to my desk, Spencer's phone in his hand. He scanned the room, ensuring all eyes were on us, before speaking in a severe tone. "I have always admired diligent students. Their grades are a testament to their hard work and intelligence. However, if those grades are achieved through dishonest means, that is an entirely different matter." As he finished, his sharp gaze fixed on me, as if trying to see right through me. He lowered his voice. "Ethan, why don't you tell us how you managed to get the top score?" I calmly met his gaze and answered evenly, "What is there to explain, sir? I earned that grade myself." Mr. Davis seemed displeased with my answer and glanced at Spencer. Spencer immediately took the cue and pulled down the projector screen. Mr. Davis quickly connected the phone and projected its screen onto the board. It was a picture of a worksheet I'd done a month ago, covered in red X's. "This was your homework from a month ago," Mr. Davis said, pointing at the screen. "You were making mistakes on simple problems like these. How could you possibly get a perfect score on the exam?" I glanced at the screen, let out a lazy yawn, and gave a dismissive laugh. "Sir, someone else was living my life back then. When I finally got it back, I didn't feel like showing my full potential right away. Is that so unreasonable? Are you really going to judge my abilities based on a single worksheet from a month ago?" Just then, Spencer stepped out from the crowd of students, looking at me with a challenging glint in his eye. "Then prove you didn't cheat." I couldn't help but laugh. I shook my head. "The burden of proof is on the accuser. This has nothing to do with me. I don't need to prove my innocence to anyone. The truth is the truth." "You're just making excuses," Spencer said, pointing at me angrily. "We're not letting this go." He stared at me as if trying to read my mind. "If you're so confident, then take another test. Right here in front of everyone. Mr. Davis can write a new one. If you still get the top score, I'll apologize to you in front of the entire school and pay you $1 million. $1 million. My eyes lit up. I was already calculating how many high-end mechanical models I could buy with that. I was definitely taking this bet. On the outside, however, I remained nonchalant. "You've damaged my reputation. $1 million isn't enough. Make it 2. You agree to that, and I'll retake the test." I was secretly thrilled. Only a child would choose. I wanted it all. The other students were taken aback by my confidence and started whispering amongst themselves. Some thought I was being arrogant, while others were just amazed at the amount of money on the line. $2 million was an insane bet, Spencer sneered. And if you don't get first place, you have to leave the school and never show your face here again. And I mean, you have to literally roll out the gates. His voice dripped with malice. I just smiled, completely unfazed. You'd better get that 2 million ready. I've got this all on video, so don't even think about backing out if you lose. If I'd known making money was this easy, I would have run this scam a long time ago. Maybe I should take over their research projects next. If Spencer was worth 2 million, I wondered how much the others would fetch. Anderson family ATM number 1 was online. It wouldn't be long before numbers 2, 3, and 4 were ready for a withdrawal. As I was thinking this, the 3 Anderson sisters, Chloe, Olivia, and Madison, all shivered simultaneously somewhere else, feeling as if something terrifying had just targeted them. The sudden chill made them uneasy. They all glanced at the thermostat, assuming the AC was just set too low. For $2 million, I agreed to take the test alone. Honestly, I didn't need to prove anything to anyone, but Spencer was a fool with more money than sense, practically begging me to take it. It would have been rude to refuse. Mr. Davis offered me the full 3 hours, but I just waved him off confidently. An hour is plenty. My tone made it clear this was no big deal. I became a human answering machine, the pen flying across the page. For me, taking a test wasn't a challenge. It was a pleasure. I mused that I should have learned business from my real mother. Making money was even easier than this. Still, I focused, finished the entire exam in record time, and then leaned back, admiring my work. I could practically see the $2 million waving at me. A crowd of onlookers gathered outside the classroom, anxiously awaiting the results. Suddenly, the teachers grading the test shot up from their chairs, exclaiming in unison, "Ethan is an absolute genius." Spencer rushed over and snatched the test paper from their hands. He looked it over again and again, his expression shifting from disbelief to shock, and finally to utter despair. He stumbled backward, muttering, "Impossible. How could he get a perfect score on everything?" The news hit the crowd like a bombshell, and everyone erupted in conversation. "Whoa, a perfect score on everything. He must have been sandbagging on the last test." Totally. He was probably afraid people would accuse him of cheating if he did too well. Spencer is just jealous that the real heir is smarter than him. And Mr. Davis suspected him just based on Spencer's word. That's messed up. I stood to the side, secretly pleased. I had proven my abilities, earned $2 million, and exposed Spencer for the snake he was. It was a win-win-win. Spencer, on the other hand, looked like he'd just swallowed a bug, his face a mask of pure disbelief. Spencer stormed up to me, his teeth clenched in anger. He was so agitated his lips were trembling as he spoke. "How could you get a perfect score?" I lazily glanced up at him, my expression bored. "Is it really that surprising? Ever heard of a concept called studying? Unlike some people, I don't just coast through life." I was laughing to myself. This had played out perfectly. The teachers who overheard this were all thinking the same thing. What an incredible actor. They'd never seen a student so brilliant and hardworking, and they couldn't praise me enough. Seizing the opportunity, the honors class teacher, Ms. Miller, shot a challenging look at Mr. Davis. "Don't you think it's a bit rash to suspect a student like that? Jumping to conclusions based on a single accusation." Then she turned to me, her eyes filled with admiration. "Ethan, you should transfer to my class. I can guarantee you won't have to deal with any of this nonsense there." I smiled politely. "Thank you for the offer, Ms. Miller, but I have some personal business to attend to first." With that, I walked calmly over to Spencer and stated my terms. $2 million, and a public admission that you slandered me out of jealousy, followed by an apology. Spencer's face was a mask of fury, but he had no choice. He pulled a checkbook from his pocket. "Here's your money. But if you think I'm going to apologize, you can forget it." I took the check with a cold smile. "Fine, no apology." Before he could react, I slapped him twice across the face. "Such a handsome face. It's a shame the skin is so thick. It would be much better if it were a little thinner." Everyone in the room was stunned. I, however, just shook out my hand as if nothing had happened. "Wow, your face is so thick it actually made my hand sting." Then I turned to Mr. Davis and said with a serious expression, "Your baseless accusations have caused me a great deal of distress. Therefore, I've decided to accept Ms. Miller's invitation and transfer to the honors class." The room erupted. Mr. Davis's face went pale, while Ms. Miller beamed with delight. News that I'd hit Spencer spread like wildfire, quickly reaching Chloe. The bell for third period had just rung when she stormed up to the honors classroom, yelling, "Ethan, get out here right now. Who do you think you are, bullying Spencer?" Spencer, who was with her, kept his head down, his face a mask of resentment. But when he looked up, he put on an expression of pure victimhood, saying weakly, "Chloe, it's really not his fault." Inside the classroom, I didn't even look up. I just listened to the drama unfolding at the door, finding the whole thing laughable. My new classmates couldn't stand it. "Spencer is such an actor," one whispered. "He's the one who accused Ethan of cheating, and now he's playing the victim. Didn't he promise to apologize in front of everyone and pay $2 million if Ethan was innocent? He paid the money but refused to apologize, and now he's trying to flip the script. The guy has no shame." Chloe heard every word. She stopped, walked right into the classroom, and demanded with a stern face, "Who were you just talking about? What exactly happened?" One of the students couldn't resist speaking up, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Your thick-skinned little brother, Spencer. Ethan got first place on the last exam, so Spencer accused him of cheating. He demanded that Ethan prove his innocence or apologize in front of the whole school and pay $2 million. Chloe was visibly stunned. She turned to stare at me, her eyes wide with surprise. "You got first place? I didn't even look up from my book. If it wasn't me, was it you? If you're gonna have a meltdown, do it after class. You're disturbing everyone." Then I went back to my textbook. A second later, Chloe was dragging Spencer out of the room. I was surprised she didn't make a bigger scene. Out in the hallway, Chloe asked Spencer with a grim expression, "Is what they said true?" Feeling his sister's piercing gaze, Spencer decided to double down. "You'd rather believe a bunch of strangers over me?" he cried, his voice full of manufactured hurt. "I'm the one who got bullied, and you're questioning me?" With that, he turned and stormed off. Chloe didn't follow him. Instead, she went to the principal's office. When she finally understood the whole story, that I had indeed earned first place with a perfect score, a look of genuine shock crossed her face for the first time. She was still in a daze as she left the administration building. This academy was one of the best in the country. Getting a perfect score was almost unheard of. After school, I ran into Chloe again at the main gate. She blocked my path as soon as I stepped outside. I looked up, annoyed. "If you have something to say it. You're in my way." "Ethan," Chloe said, her tone like she was interrogating a suspect, "why didn't you tell us you were such a good student?" I knew her type all too well. In the original novel, she was the classic snob who judged everyone. I crossed my arms and smirked. "What's it to you? Were you going to give me a cash prize or something?" Chloe gritted her teeth. "If Mom and Dad had known you were this smart, they never would have let you leave." I looked at her like she was an idiot. "Who cares? Getting paid to leave wasn't good enough? You should really get your head checked. Now stop being an eyesore." With that, I pushed past her and walked away, leaving Chloe standing there in stunned silence. My new custom-built PC was waiting for me when I got home. As soon as I had it assembled, I booted it up and, with my system's help, looked up Chloe's current research project. When I saw she was working on semiconductor development, I had to laugh. What a coincidence. This was my specialty. Without a second thought, I started drafting a paper. In the years I spent with my real mother, when I wasn't studying, I was in her lab, tinkering with high-tech equipment. As soon as the paper was done, I submitted it to the university's research group. The very next day, the head of the university's research division came to see me personally. "I've read your paper," he said. "It's brilliant. There are some concepts in it that my team is still trying to wrap our heads around. To further this research, I'd like to formally invite you to join our group." That was exactly what I'd been waiting for. I accepted on the spot. The moment I joined the lab, I showed them what I could really do. Modifying the timing crystals, adjusting the parameters, it was all child's play for me. I tried to remember how my mother used to do it. As I worked, a key step came back to me. Right, I had to resize the die first. After I was done working my magic on the fabrication machine, everyone just stared, completely dumbfounded. Chloe's friends linked arms with her, teasing, "I hear that's the real Anderson heir. How could your family ever let a genius like that go?" "Shut up," Chloe snapped, pushing her friend away, but her eyes never left me. When the performance test results came back, the entire lab was in an uproar. The chip I had designed was incredibly fast, rivaling the top commercial chips on the market, and even outperforming them in some areas. "Ethan, you're incredible. You're a genius." Everyone was looking at me with pure admiration. I just smiled. "I just enjoy tinkering with this stuff. Your lab had the materials, so I thought I'd give it a shot." This was the second time I had left Chloe completely stunned. She walked over to me, her expression complicated, and asked the question that was burning in her mind. Did you do this on purpose? I gave her a placid smile. On purpose? Your lab posted the recruitment notice 3 days ago. I cut ties with your family a week ago. What am I? A psychic? I gave Chloe a sideways glance, my expression saying it all. Asterisk, how could you even think that? You were willing to accept a loser like Spencer, but you can't handle the idea that I might actually be a genius. Asterisk, I shot back. Chloe searched my eyes but found no trace of anger, not even a hint that I cared. She turned and walked out of the lab. I stood there, watching her leave, a faint smile playing on my lips. Asterisk, she can't even handle this? What's she going to do later? Asterisk, the research value of this chip was significant enough to attract government funding. Since I had developed it on my own, no one else even suggested sharing the credit. Chloe watched all of this, gritting her teeth in frustration. Why, she thought, I've worked for years and gotten nowhere, and he, the outcast, does it effortlessly? I held the funding agreement and smiled. Actually, I'm happy to share my findings. I'll make the research data public for everyone to study. The patent, however, is mine. The moment I finished speaking, the lab erupted in applause. The news spread through the Anderson family like wildfire. The usually arrogant family members were, for once, completely stunned. Ethan is certainly full of surprises, Olivia said, shaking her head. She refused to believe I could have accomplished something like this on my own. He must have stolen our research somehow. Chloe slowly rose from the sofa, her gaze sharp and determined. You're all wrong. He developed that technology right in front of us. It was his achievement and his alone. It has nothing to do with any of us. Madison's eyes went wide. Are you saying that kid from the sticks actually knows what he's doing? Mr. Anderson's face was as dark as a thundercloud. If he's so capable, why didn't he show it before? His tone was thick with suspicion. Mrs. Anderson snorted. So what if he's capable? Does he think he can just walk all over us now? Chloe glanced around the room, her voice calm but firm. His other recent patent applications have government backing. If this research pans out, this one chip design could be worth $4 billion. And if we want to use it, we'll have to pay him royalties. $4 billion, Mrs. Anderson cried out, clearly shocked by the number. He's doing this just to spite us, isn't he? Spencer hid in the corner, his eyes burning with jealousy. He clenched his jaw, a bitter resentment welling up inside him. Asterisk, why? Why does everything come so easily to him? Asterisk, at that very moment, I was lounging comfortably on my balcony with a cup of coffee, watching the ugly expressions on the Andersons' faces via my system's feed. I couldn't have been more pleased. They were certainly a dramatic bunch. I grinned and started compiling some data. It was time to send a little gift to the two genius Anderson sisters. That's right, it was time to stir the pot again. First, I sent Olivia a detailed report that clearly outlined the flaws in her medical research and provided viable solutions. When she read it, she was completely floored. She refused to believe it could have come from me. Meanwhile, Madison received a new proposal for her own tech project. It not only solved her immediate problems but also laid out a clear path for her future research. She read it over and over, her eyes wide with disbelief. Her opinion of me was changing rapidly. When the rest of the Anderson family found out, they were once again left speechless. So, when the three Anderson sisters cornered me at the school gate again, I wasn't the least bit surprised. Well, what are the three princesses doing here? I teased, my eyes glinting with amusement. I'm busy right now. If you have something to say, you can wait until after school. And even then, it'll depend on my mood. I turned to walk away. Olivia jogged to cut me off. Don't play dumb, Ethan. You know exactly why we're here. I had to hide a smile, putting on my most innocent expression. I just thought it was a waste of the university's funding to give it to you. It would be much better spent on a top student like myself. Madison's face flushed with anger. I continued to needle them. What? Did I say something wrong? The three of you have the best resources, all thanks to your family, and yet you're constantly complaining about hitting a bottleneck in your research. TSK, tisk. Madison's expression was grim. If you were this capable, why didn't you say so before? You could have stayed with the family. What's your game here? I rolled my eyes. And you would have believed me? Besides, I have nothing to do with the Anderson family anymore. Why are you even talking to me? Don't tell me you want me to come back and save the family name. Madison was speechless. There is no we, I said, waving my hand dismissively. Go find your precious little brother. He's the hope of the Anderson family. I'm just a footnote in your story. I glanced at my watch. I don't have any more time to waste on you. I've already lost 3 minutes. Time is money. The 3 Anderson sisters just looked at each other, speechless. I was already walking away, not once looking back, leaving them with nothing but the sight of my retreating back. Madison started to go after me, but Chloe held her back. That's enough, Madison. Don't embarrass yourself further. Her own gaze, however, followed me as I walked away, her expression unreadable. Madison struggled against her sister's grip. Let me go, Chloe. That jerk is too arrogant. I'm going to teach him a lesson. Chloe was unfazed. Are you sure you'd be teaching him a lesson? Or would you just be making a fool of yourself? How can you say that? I'm your sister. Madison protested. And even sisters have to face reality, Chloe said, letting her go and turning back towards the campus exit. Let's go home and figure out our next move. Olivia walked over, frowning. Chloe, Madison, how much of what he said do you think is true? The question made her think back to everything that had happened. I don't know, Chloe said, shaking her head. But if he's not lying, then have we been wrong about Spencer all these years? Is it possible Ethan really doesn't care about the inheritance? That he's not trying to compete with Spencer? Madison got worked up again. Of course he cares. That kid is a schemer. Don't fall for it. A schemer. Chloe laughed softly. I think you're the one who's being naive. Chloe. Madison pouted. Just then, Spencer emerged from around a corner. Watching his sisters argue filled him with a sense of irritation. My recent accomplishments had made me famous, and university recruitment offices were falling over themselves to make me offers. I turned them all down, telling them I already had plans. The principal of my academy was baffled. Ethan, these are incredible opportunities. Why are you turning them all down? I just smiled. I enjoy the process. The outcome isn't that important to me. The principal could only shake his head in resignation. Spencer, meanwhile, was not having a good time. After the cheating scandal, no one wanted anything to do with him. Everyone had seen his true colors. And with me being so popular, even the Anderson sisters were trying to get my attention. Who had time for Spencer anymore? Spencer sat in the classroom, clutching his phone, his heart filled with a burning hatred. He stared down at a photo of me on his screen, and then, with a grimace, he forwarded it to a group chat, his eyes filled with venom. Whoever can get rid of this guy, I'll pay 10 million. The group chat exploded. Get lost. This one's mine. The offer was too tempting to resist. Spencer added more fuel to the fire. And I'll guarantee you safe passage out of the country. A clean break. That sealed the deal. Many in the group were already getting excited, their eyes gleaming with greed, imagining the new life that awaited them. As a result, I was cornered by a group of thugs on my way home. Spencer had chosen the spot well. It was a blind spot for all security cameras, the perfect place to commit a crime. The leader, a brutish-looking man, rubbed his hands together and grinned. Ethan, you could have picked a fight with anyone, but you had to go and piss off our client. You're just asking for it. I glanced around. He was right, not a camera in sight. I stretched lazily, a smirk playing on my lips. Looks like you boys are about to experience a new world of pain. Ah, listen to this kid, someone in the crowd yelled. Get him, boys. The rest of them swarmed me. I asked my system internally, asterisk this doesn't count as bullying, right? They started it. Asterisk the system paused for a moment, as if seriously considering the question. It probably doesn't count. I grinned, pulling a 5-foot steel baseball bat from my system inventory. I rested it on my shoulder, a dangerous glint in my eye. Step right up, folks. First come, first serve. The thugs saw the bat and froze, their eyes practically bugging out of their heads. I didn't give them time to react. I swung the bat in a wide arc, and the alley filled with a symphony of screams. Ooh, that one's going to leave a mark, I taunted as I swung. He'll be laid up for a few months, I bet. The thugs were all screaming in agony, their earlier bravado completely gone. I showed no mercy, swinging the bat like a man possessed. I took them on one by one, two by two, my movements clean and efficient like a one-man army. Gradually, the number of attackers dwindled, while the number of men writhing on the ground grew. The once menacing thugs were now pale and trembling, looking like they'd seen a ghost. Spencer never said this kid could fight like this, one of them groaned. He's not a student, he's a damn movie action hero. Realizing they were outmatched, the thugs immediately lost their nerve. They all dropped to their knees, begging for mercy. Please, man, have mercy. We were just paid to do a job. We had no choice. I pulled out my phone and started recording, my expression cold. If you were hired, then tell me who hired you. One of the thugs glanced at his fallen comrades, then made a decision. It was Spencer. He said he'd give us 10 million to get rid of you and arrange for us to leave the country. I raised an eyebrow. That's just your word. Do you have any proof? The man fumbled for his phone. Yes, right here. Look. The phone screen clearly showed a screenshot of a chat from Spencer's Instagram account. 10 million to take him out. I'll get you out of the country. The evidence was undeniable. I nodded, satisfied, stopped the recording, and put my phone away. Then I turned and walked out of the alley. The thugs watched me go, not daring to even breathe too loudly. I walked out of the alley in a great mood, whistling as I headed for the Anderson mansion, looking for all the world like I didn't have a care. In the Anderson living room, Spencer sat on the sofa, eavesdropping as the three sisters discussed me. His expression grew darker and darker, a bitter jealousy churning in his stomach. Meanwhile, Mrs. Anderson, having heard that top universities were vying for me, was in a foul mood. Look what you've done, she said sarcastically to her husband. Think of the opportunities we've lost. I told you we shouldn't have gotten rid of Ethan. Mr. Anderson slammed his hand on the table and shot to his feet, his face red with anger. Now you're blaming me? As I recall, you were all for it when we kicked him out. Listening to his adoptive parents argue, Spencer felt more and more like an outsider. He'd thought my return would be a minor inconvenience, but reality had hit him like a ton of bricks. He gave a cold, secret smile. After tonight, that person will be gone forever. He almost laughed out loud at the thought. But he waited, and there was no news from the men he'd hired. They should have been done half an hour ago. Spencer grew restless, his fingers drumming nervously on the arm of the sofa. Suddenly, with a tremendous crash, the front door of the mansion was smashed off its hinges, sending the crystal chandelier above swinging wildly. Spencer looked up in terror to see me standing in the doorway, baseball bat in hand, a playful, menacing look on my face. Oh good, you're all here. Saves me the trouble of making individual house calls. I stepped onto the fallen door, the wood groaning under my weight. Every creak seemed to echo Spencer's own fear. My expression was pure provocation. Spencer, I've come to play. The color drained from Spencer's face, his earlier confidence evaporating in an instant. His lips trembled. How are you back here in one piece? I sent so many men. The words tumbled out before he could stop them. My gaze swept across the room, landing on each of their faces like a spotlight, before finally settling on Spencer. I hear you paid a lot of money to have me taken care of. Too bad it was all for nothing. A dangerous smile played on my lips, a fire in my eyes. And now, I have a score to settle with you. Spencer's face was ashen. He trembled uncontrollably, frozen in place. He wanted to run, but his legs felt like they were made of lead. I advanced on him, step by step, swinging the bat so it whistled through the air, the metal catching the light in a cold, menacing arc. Ever heard the expression, losing it all in one go? I bet you're starting to understand it now. Everyone else in the room was frozen in shock, too afraid to intervene. They could only watch. The moment Mr. Anderson saw me, his face hardened. Even with my recent success, he would not allow the outcast son to set foot in his house again. He glared at me and said coldly, "What are you doing here? You're not welcome. Get out." I scoffed and rolled my eyes. Tisk, didn't I already tell you? I'm here to collect a debt. With that, I strode over to Spencer, grabbed him by the collar and hauled him to his feet. With the bat in my other hand, even the three sisters, who always rushed to his defense, didn't dare to move. Olivia tried to intervene. "Ethan, let's just talk about this." Before she could finish, I silenced her with a single command, "Shut up!" I shot her a look that silenced her completely. I yanked Spencer so close our noses were almost touching. "Spencer, I left this family, but you still won't leave me alone. You're like a dog with a bone. What's your problem? Are you just that obsessed with me? Or are you just so insecure that you know you'll never truly have my place, and it's driving you insane?" I gently patted his cheek, then slapped him hard across the face. The sharp crack of the slap echoed through the living room. Spencer went flying like a rag doll, landing in a heap on the floor. The others started to move, but I scraped the end of my bat along the hardwood floor, the sound screeching through the room. I scanned their faces. "Anyone else want to try? I'll make sure you leave on a stretcher." My cold, menacing tone made the hair on their arms stand up. The air in the room went still. Spencer clutched his already swelling face, his eyes a mixture of terror and hatred. He scrambled backward, screaming, "Ethan, murder is illegal. You can't kill me." I raised an eyebrow, a sarcastic smile on my face. "Oh, so you know murder is illegal? Then why did you hire people to kill me?" I walked toward him, each step deliberate and heavy, my eyes glinting dangerously. Spencer was trembling, but he still tried to deny it. I didn't. I just wanted them to teach you a lesson. His voice trailed off. I laughed, my eyes turning to ice. A lesson? That's a bold claim. I know all about your little schemes. You had me followed. You tried to have me killed. Today, we're settling the score. I tapped the end of the bat on the floor. Mr. Anderson finally seemed to grasp the gravity of the situation. Ethan, he roared, this is the Anderson house. You will not act this way here. I just laughed, my voice dripping with sarcasm. The Anderson house? Who gives a damn? I'm just here for a little justice. The metal bat gleamed under the chandelier. Mrs. Anderson spoke up hesitantly. Ethan, maybe this is all just a misunderstanding? A misunderstanding? I burst out laughing, a bitter, hollow sound. What misunderstanding? Mr. Anderson said, pulling his wife back. You make one more move and I'm calling the police for trespassing. I shrugged. Go ahead. As it happens, I have something for them too. Just as Mr. Anderson was about to dial 911, Spencer lunged forward and knocked the phone from his hand. Don't call them, he shrieked. Mr. Anderson stared at his adopted son, shocked. Why not? I smiled and unlocked my phone. He's too scared to say, so I'll say it for him. The recording played, filling the living room with the thug's confession, naming Spencer as the mastermind. With every word, the color drained from the Andersons' faces. The sisters' eyes were wide with shock. Mr. and Mrs. Anderson's expressions shifted from disbelief to fury, and finally, to crushing disappointment. Spencer was pale and trembling, tears streaming down his face. Dad, I had my reasons, you have to believe me. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Dad, please listen to me. I let out a lazy yawn and stretched. Well, I'm exhausted. The score is settled. I'll be handing this evidence over to the police. The rest is up to you. I turned to leave. Behind me, Spencer's desperate cries echoed through the room. Dad, help me. I don't want to go to jail. It was a moment of weakness. I know I was wrong. He crawled over to me, his face a mess of tears and snot, looking like a pathetic beggar. Brother, I was wrong. Please just give me one more chance. I'll never do it again, I swear. I laughed sarcastically and shook his hand off me, my eyes filled with disgust. Don't touch me. I watched his pathetic display with a sneer, as if watching a bad actor. Seeing me about to leave, Spencer turned to Mr. Anderson in a panic. Dad, he cried, I know I was wrong, but please, for all the years I was a good son, please help me. I was just jealous. My brother and sisters are all so brilliant. I just wanted you to be proud of me too. Listening to his adopted son's pleas, Mr. Anderson's resolve softened. He frowned, a look of conflict in his eyes. After a moment's hesitation, he finally spoke. Ethan, what will it take for you to let this go? I smiled a knowing smile and held up one finger. $1 billion, I said slowly. Mrs. Anderson flew into a rage. Are you insane, Ethan? $1 billion? You might as well just rob a bank. Her voice was shrill, her eyes wide with fury. I clicked my tongue, a playful glint in my eye. Don't want to pay? Fine by me. After today, when the news breaks that Spencer hired a hitman, and that the Andersons raised such a monster, you'll lose a lot more than $1 billion. And that's not even mentioning the school bullying scandals. I shrugged. Since you're not interested, I'll be on my way. I turned and headed for the door. Mr. Anderson broke out in a sweat. Wait, he called out. $1 billion, it's yours. He took a deep breath. But you have to guarantee none of this ever gets out. I turned back, a smirk on my face. I can only speak for myself. As for the rest, I shrugged. Who knows? You should ask around at his school. See what other good deeds your precious son has been up to. Mr. Anderson's eyes went wide with disbelief. What did you just say? He asked, his voice trembling. The color drained from his face. I just smiled, tapping the bat against my palm. You can find out the rest for yourself. It's not my story to tell. I rubbed my fingers together, a sly look in my eye. Just get the money to me, and this chapter is closed. After all, the money was what I was really after. Mr. Anderson's face was a mask of grim resignation. He let out a heavy sigh. The money will be in your account within 3 days. Give me the number. His voice was a mixture of suppressed rage and utter helplessness. I quickly sent him my account information, a triumphant smile on my face. Since we have a deal, I'll be going. With that, I turned and left, leaving the Anderson family staring after me in stunned silence. The room was deathly quiet. My system was stunned. His real mother didn't care about money at all, it mused. Asterisk, how did the host turn out to be such a money grubber? This is straight up extortion. Asterisk, the moment I was gone, all eyes in the room turned to Spencer. He had stopped crying, but the panic in his eyes was unmistakable. Spencer, what have you done? Chloe was the first to speak, her voice colder than he had ever heard it. She had always been his staunchest defender, but now, she looked at him as if he were a complete stranger. At her sharp tone, Spencer froze, then his face crumpled and the tears started again. I was just a kid. Everyone always said I wasn't like the rest of you. Dad, Mom, Chloe. I know I was wrong. I really do. He looked at them with wide, pleading eyes, like a puppy that had just been scolded. But this time, no one was falling for it. Madison and Olivia exchanged a look of shared disappointment and anger. The brother they had cherished for so many years had suddenly become a monster. We'll deal with you after we find out the truth, Mrs. Anderson said, giving Spencer one last cold look before turning and heading to her bedroom. Her shoulders slumped with a weariness that went beyond physical exhaustion. She couldn't understand how she had raised such a child. Spencer collapsed onto the floor, clutching his head in his hands. How did it come to this? He whispered, his voice filled with despair. This isn't how it was supposed to be. He had thought he was in control, but now he realized he had only been fooling himself. Thinking about the $1 billion that was about to hit my account, I was so excited I could have danced. This was a massive windfall. I couldn't help but hum a celebratory tune, a new spring in my step. Suddenly, the system's voice echoed in my head. Host, Spencer's corruption level has just increased by 20 points. I just scoffed, a sarcastic smile on my face. Him? The original Ethan went through hell and never broke. This guy faces one little setback and he's ready to become a supervillain. I shook my head in disgust. It's pathetic. I muttered to myself, asterisk, how could someone like him ever be the protagonist of a story? Because of his fake, innocent act. It's a joke. Asterisk, the system sensed my thoughts and offered a quiet suggestion. Perhaps the protagonist was just lucky. My eyes lit up. I nodded. Good point. In this world, luck is a skill in itself. 3 days later, Mr. Anderson asked to meet me at a cafe in downtown Los Angeles. When I walked in, I saw him hunched in a corner booth, his brow furrowed, looking like he hadn't slept in days. The moment I sat down, he got straight to the point. Ethan, you knew about all this, didn't you? If you're willing to come back home, the Anderson inheritance is yours. I slowly stirred my coffee, watching the swirl in the cup. Does it matter when I found out? I looked up, my gaze steady and proud. As for the Anderson inheritance, I'm not interested. If I wanted to, I could build 10 fortunes of my own. Mr. Anderson's eyes widened in shock. He clearly hadn't expected such a firm refusal. He struggled for words. Ethan, about the past, Stop, I cut him off. The past is the past. Leave the inheritance to someone who actually wants it. As the Andersons dug deeper, Spencer's misdeeds were uncovered one by one, like lifting a rug to reveal years of filth. Bullying classmates, tormenting weaker students, the list of his offenses was long and shocking. Protected by the Anderson name, he had always been untouchable. When the final report was laid out, a chill went through the Anderson family. Mr. Anderson's hands trembled as he held the papers. He rushed home to find Spencer casually scrolling through his phone. A surge of rage washed over him, and he slapped him across the face. You monster! How could you do these things? Spencer clutched his stinging cheek, his eyes wide with shock and confusion. Then his shock turned to rage. Is this because I'm not your real son? Because I'm not a money-making genius like him? Is that why you're treating me like this? His voice trembled. He couldn't understand how the father who had always doted on him could suddenly turn on him like this. You promised you'd never let anyone bully me, Spencer cried, his eyes red-rimmed. So why are you doing this now? He was confused and bitter. Had all their promises been lies? Olivia looked down at Spencer, who had collapsed onto the floor, her eyes filled with a cold disappointment. She looked at him as if he were a stranger. She walked over and slapped him again. The sharp sound echoed through the room. You call this being bullied? You're the one who's the bully. Her voice was sharp and final, like a judge delivering a verdict. Spencer was stunned. He stared at Olivia, tears welling in his eyes, his lips trembling. I didn't, he started to say, but the words died on his lips, empty and useless. Didn't you? Mr. Anderson threw the folder of evidence at his feet, the papers scattering across the floor. The proof is right here. Take a look at all the good you've done. Spencer's hands trembled as he picked up the scattered pages. As he read, the color drained from his face, the light in his eyes fading with every word. When he finished the last page, he dropped to his knees, sobbing. "Dad, Chloe, I know I was wrong. I really know. Please, can you forgive me just this once?" I wasn't thinking straight. Everyone turned away, unable to even look at him. He turned to Mrs. Anderson, a final, desperate hope in his eyes. "Mom, you always loved me best. Please, forgive me." "Don't call me Mom," Mrs. Anderson said, her face twisted in disgust, as if she were looking at something vile. "I can't believe what kind of monster I've raised in my own home. You're not even human." Mr. Anderson and Olivia looked at his broken form. Despite their anger, they couldn't help but feel a pang of pity. After all, they had known him for so many years. "Spencer, you have to take responsibility for your actions," Mr. Anderson said, his voice heavy, his expression conflicted. "There is no place for you in the Anderson family." Spencer's eyes widened in disbelief, as if he'd just been told the world was ending. "Dad, what do you mean?" he stammered, his voice shaking. Mr. Anderson looked at him, his voice cold and even. "It means, from now on, you can go live with your biological parents. You are no longer welcome in this house." He had always thought his adopted son was clever. He never imagined he could be so foolish. Spencer looked as if he'd been struck by lightning. He froze, his expression unreadable. Then, he snapped back to reality and began to wail, a heart-wrenching, desperate sound. "Mom, Dad, you can't abandon me. I don't want to go back. I won't go back to live with those poor, pathetic people." He cried and screamed, his voice high and shrill. He crawled over to his sisters, begging them to intervene, his face a mess of tears, but they just kicked him away. Undeterred, he crawled to his adoptive parents' feet, pleading, "Mom, Dad, please, don't make me leave." He was kicked away again, this time landing flat on his face. I watched the whole family drama unfold on my system's feed with great amusement. "It's a real dog-eat-dog world," I mused. "And they're all losing." The system suddenly chimed in cheerfully. "Host, the Anderson family's regret level has reached 25.7. I raised an eyebrow in disbelief. "They actually have the capacity for regret? Don't tell me my mission is to max out their regret meter. That's just twisted. Can't I just solve this problem more directly?" The system nodded solemnly, like a student answering a teacher. Asterisk, "You've guessed correctly, host. The objective is to raise their regret level to 100. Asterisk, I rolled my eyes. This is the worst mission ever. Other hosts get to beat up villains, and I'm stuck here farming regret points. Watching Spencer get tossed around by the Andersons like a soccer ball, I couldn't help but smile. Well, Spencer, look at you now. Not so arrogant anymore, are you? Go on, keep showing off." The drama continued. Spencer was thrown out of the house, left to stand alone at the gate, crying like a lost child, while the Andersons watched from the window as if he were a complete stranger. I watched the scene unfold, a deep sense of satisfaction washing over me. The news that Spencer had been expelled and disowned by the Andersons hit the school, and then the wider community like a hurricane. The once adored heir had fallen from grace, a shooting star crashing into the mud. It was quite the reversal of fortune. And through it all, I remained an island of calm, going about my business as usual. Just after school one day, Chloe rushed up to me, a placating smile on her face. "Ethan, Mom and Dad said they miss you. They want you to come home for a visit." I glanced at my watch and gave her a polite but distant smile. "I'm afraid I don't have time. I have a seminar with my professor. Sorry." Without another word, I walked to the sleek sports car waiting for me at the curb, its paint job gleaming in the California sun. As I got in, I deliberately rolled down the window and said to Chloe, my tone casual, "I have nothing to do with the Anderson family. Even if I were dead, I wouldn't want you at my funeral." Chloe was stunned into silence. She clearly hadn't expected me to be so harsh. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. I floored the accelerator, and the engine roared to life. The car was gone in a flash. The scene was witnessed by half the student body and instantly became the talk of the campus. Some admired my decisiveness, while others thought I was being cruel. Either way, I had everyone's attention. "Now that's a real heir," people would say. "Handsome, brilliant, so much better than that Spencer." I, of course, was completely oblivious to my newfound fame, focused only on getting to my professor's seminar on time. Halfway through the meeting, the system's voice popped into my head. Asterisk host, the Andersons are planning a belated birthday party for you. They're trying to figure out how to get back in your good graces. Asterisk, I couldn't help but sneer. They ignored me when I was nobody, I muttered under my breath. Now that I'm successful, they're all over me. Such hypocrites. Just then, my professor mentioned an overseas research project. He scanned the room. Any volunteers? I immediately raised my hand. I'll go. The professor was pleasantly surprised. Excellent. With you on the team, Ethan, I'm sure this project will be a great success. I smiled, but inside I was already calculating. This was the perfect way to avoid the Andersons and make them sweat a little. The professor had his assistant arrange the paperwork immediately. I packed my bags, and by that afternoon, I was on a private jet, heading overseas. Looking out at the clouds below, I felt a sense of profound relief. The Andersons, meanwhile, were in the midst of planning my party, decorating the venue, and buying expensive gifts, all with looks of eager anticipation on their faces. The next day, they showed up at the academy, only to be told I had left the country. What? He left the country? The three sisters stared at each other, completely dumbfounded. The principal looked at them, confused. Didn't Ethan tell you? He left with his professor last night. The three sisters just shook their heads, a bitter taste in their mouths. It felt as if they had lost the best of their family, and the feeling was worse than they could have imagined. My time abroad was like a vacation, relaxing and carefree. After all, I'd spent years traveling the world with my mother, so I was used to different cultures, and my English was flawless. Communicating with the locals was no problem at all. I had come to the US for an academic exchange, but the moment I arrived, the other party tried to steal my patent, using all sorts of flimsy excuses to try and detain me. I'd seen these kinds of dirty tricks before. I had to laugh. Do they really think I'm that easy to push around? I was prepared for this. I had a contingency plan in place. And sure enough, the day they tried to make their move, all the evidence they had fabricated against me mysteriously vanished. They were left with nothing. I not only walked away clean, but I also taught them a valuable lesson. Some people are not to be trifled with. A week later, my research was complete, and I returned to the States. Before I left, I made a detailed note of everyone involved in the scheme. I would be settling the score with them later. After all, I'm known for holding a grudge. The moment I stepped off the plane at LAX, I was surprised to see the entire Anderson clan waiting for me. They were all smiles, acting as if we hadn't disowned each other. Their performance was so good, they deserved an Oscar. Ethan, you're finally back, Mr. Anderson said, putting on his best, caring father act. You must be exhausted. Come on, let's get you home so you can rest. Looking at their phony smiles made me sick to my stomach. I sneered. What's this? You suddenly remembered you have a son? Or did you forget we cut ties a long time ago? Mrs. Anderson quickly chimed in with a forced smile. Ethan, that was all a misunderstanding. A family can't just break apart. That's right, Ethan, Chloe added, her eyes pleading. We all missed you so much. Olivia spoke softly. We investigated what happened. We know you didn't push Spencer. We're sorry. Madison walked over, her expression unreadable. We're sorry, Ethan. Looking at their awkward, desperate faces, I couldn't help but laugh. Members of the Anderson family? I said, my voice light but every word a dagger. Do you need me to remind you of what you said to me the last time we spoke? Just then, my professor, Dr. Evans, came to my side. He immediately sensed the tension and frowned. Ethan, is everything all right? He asked quietly. His voice was filled with genuine concern. I looked at him gratefully, a small smile playing on my lips. Yes, actually, if you wouldn't mind. I gestured to the Andersons, my voice turning to ice. These people have nothing to do with me. We severed our relationship a long time ago. The moment the words left my mouth, the Andersons' faces fell. They looked like they'd just swallowed poison. Mr. Anderson started to protest, but a government agent stepped forward, blocking his path. Sir, please do not disturb Mr. Anderson or the professor. They are currently under federal protection. I suggest you recognize the situation for what it is. The agent's voice was calm, but left no room for argument. Mr. Anderson's face flushed with anger. That's my son. What do you mean, recognize the situation? I can't even speak to my own son. His voice was thick with outrage. The agent responded calmly. Apologies, sir. We have seen the legal documents terminating your parental rights. We are simply following orders. Please don't make this difficult. That shut him up. He could only glare at our retreating backs, his eyes practically shooting fire. Well, are you happy now? Mrs. Anderson immediately started in on her husband. You've driven away your own son. I told you Spencer was a bad seed, but you wouldn't listen. I drove him away? Mr. Anderson roared back, his face turning purple. Were you not there that day? Did you say a single word to stop it? Mrs. Anderson glared back, her own eyes blazing. You didn't object either. And now you're trying to pin it all on me. The argument escalated, turning from shouting to shoving, and finally to an all-out brawl, right there in the middle of the airport. The whole thing was caught on camera by a reporter from TMZ. The video went viral instantly, with headlines like, "Billionaire Anderson's brawl at LAX over disowned son." The comments section was a goldmine. "This is better than any reality show," one user wrote. The crowd of onlookers ate it up. In the distance, Spencer watched the whole thing unfold, a bitter taste in his mouth. He had never gone back to his biological parents' home. He refused to. Why did they get to live their lives, while he was left with nothing? The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. And when he saw me, the true heir, his jealousy burned white hot. He couldn't understand why everyone was so impressed with me. Was it just because I was smart and could make money? Spencer gritted his teeth. I can do that too, he thought. In the car, Dr. Evans looked at me, my expression serene, and sighed. With parents like that, are you really okay? His eyes were filled with pity. The story of the Switch sons had been all over the news. I just smiled, my gaze untroubled. Some people just aren't meant to be parents. If the connection isn't there, it's better to just sever it completely. I spoke with a maturity that belied my age, and even the professor seemed moved by my words. Some people just don't deserve to be parents, he sighed, his voice filled with a sad resignation. I nodded silently. He had spoken the truth that was buried deep in my own heart. The wound had scarred over long ago. 3 days later, I secured 3 new patents. The news was another blow to the Andersons' already tarnished reputation. The more successful I became, the more the media dredged up the story of how they had chosen the imposter over their real son. The internet had a field day, joking that the Andersons had traded a prize racehorse for a donkey. The hashtag Ethan Anderson's revenge shot to the top of the trending list on Twitter, causing the Anderson family even more public humiliation. The 8th time I ran into Olivia, I finally snapped. My calm facade shattered. What is wrong with you people? I demanded, my brow furrowed in frustration. I told you I want nothing to do with you. Why do you keep hounding me? I shot her a furious glare. While their regret level of 45 was satisfying, being harassed every day was getting on my nerves. They sent everything from bizarre gifts to homemade lunches. At first, I would offer a polite refusal, but eventually, I just started avoiding them. But they were relentless, finding new ways to get things to me, like actors in some never-ending drama of repentance. Public opinion online began to shift. They've already admitted they were wrong, some people commented. Does he have to be so cruel? But others were quick to fire back. They were quick enough to disown him. Now that he's successful, they're crawling back. It's pathetic. My words left Olivia speechless, her face pale, her eyes dark with frustration. Ethan, we've tried everything. What more do you want from us? Did I ask you to apologize? I laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. We have a legally binding document severing our ties. Do you not understand English? Their logic was so twisted it was almost funny, as if I was the one forcing them to put on this show. After Olivia left, thoroughly dejected, I turned and spat on the ground. The moment she walked in the door, Mrs. Anderson rushed to meet her, holding a container of food. Did your brother take it? Olivia threw the container on the floor with a loud clatter. Stop fooling yourself. Mrs. Anderson rushed over, looking at the spilled food with a pained expression. That's your brother. Can't you show a little more concern? What's the point of caring now? He's gone. Who are you putting on this show for? This isn't concern, it's harassment. If you want to give him something, do it yourself. I'm done. Olivia stormed upstairs, her footsteps echoing through the house. Mrs. Anderson was left standing in the foyer, muttering to herself, how can she talk to me like that? She bent down to pick up the container, a heavy feeling in her chest. She knew they had hurt him deeply, but why was it so hard to make things right? I watched Mrs. Anderson cleaning up the mess on my system's feed, my expression cold and unmoved. I knew exactly how the original Ethan had been treated in that house, how his every attempt to connect had been seen as a pathetic attempt to curry favor. Now, they were just getting a taste of their own medicine. A small, cruel smile played on my lips. Just then, the system's voice chimed in. Host, Olivia's regret level has dropped to 20. I raised an eyebrow. Dropped by 25? Interesting. Some people just couldn't handle a little rejection. But it doesn't matter, I said with a careless smile. The system just said the total regret level has to reach 100. It didn't say whose. If I have to, I can just start over with someone else. The system seemed amused. You have a great attitude, host. Of course, I said with a cocky grin. You can't survive in this world without one. Before I knew it, it was the day of the SATs. I was the first one to finish, and as I handed in my test, I casually remarked, that was too easy. And sure enough, when the results came back, I had a perfect score. During the inevitable press interviews, I didn't miss the opportunity for a little jab. I owe it all to my family, I said with a saccharine smile. If it weren't for their constant neglect and disapproval, I never would have had the motivation to succeed. In the audience, Mrs. Anderson's face went pale, her expression a mixture of hurt and confusion. Chloe shot a worried glance at her mother, then stormed onto the stage, glaring at me. Ethan, you've gone too far. Mom is right there in the audience. How could you say something like that? I just grinned, my eyes filled with scorn. Can't handle the truth? Was what you all did to me not 100 times worse? You brought that on yourself. Chloe shot back, her voice hard as steel. I nodded. You're right. I did bring this on myself. That sent Chloe over the edge. She clenched her fists and charged at me, her eyes blazing. I sidestepped her clumsy attack and delivered a sharp roundhouse kick that sent her flying across the stage. The entire auditorium was stunned into a dead silence. I slowly turned, my expression twisting into a snarl. You want to hit me? You think you're worthy? To hell with this stupid mission, I muttered, grabbing a sledgehammer that was part of a stage display. I dragged it behind me, the sound of the metal scraping against the floor echoing eerily through the silent auditorium. I stood over Chloe and brought the hammer down next to her head. The day I came back to this family, you told me everything belonged to Spencer, that I should be grateful you even let me in the door, and that I shouldn't expect anything more. I brought the hammer down again, and Chloe let out a blood-curdling scream. The audience was frozen in shock. No one had expected this. Have you forgotten? I sneered, my eyes filled with contempt. Just then, Olivia and Madison rushed onto the stage to stop me. But before they could say a word, I swung the hammer at them, sending them both to the ground, writhing in pain. When Spencer framed me, you all believed him. When I needed you, where were you? My voice echoed through the auditorium, each word a dagger. I let out a raw, guttural scream that echoed through the hall. Then I fell upon the three of them, a flurry of fists and feet, not stopping until all three were unconscious. My eyes were filled with a demonic fury. I slowly turned to face Mr. and Mrs. Anderson in the audience, my gaze a torrent of pure hatred. Your family? I want no part of it. Every word landed like a hammer blow. Bother me again, and I'll kill you. With that, I turned and walked away, leaving a scene of chaos and a terrified audience in my wake. The air was thick with a suffocating silence. The system was practically sputtering. Host, what are you doing? The mission was to make them regret their actions, to set up a dramatic reconciliation. I blinked innocently. I am doing the mission, making them regret ever messing with me? That counts as regret, doesn't it? The system was speechless. But this is a complete deviation from the main plot. Deviation? I sneered. Can you unshit after you've taken a shit, just by apologizing? Good point. Please don't say it again. As the video of my rampage went viral, the entire internet was buzzing about the Anderson family. People talked about their cold indifference to their own son and their sudden, desperate attempts to win him back now that he was successful. The consensus was that the Andersons were shameless, money-grubbing hypocrites, begging for forgiveness without ever acknowledging their past cruelty. Are the Andersons insane? Comments like this were everywhere. Public outrage against the family was at an all-time high. To make matters worse, internet sleuths dug up every dirty secret from Spencer's past. One scandal after another hit the Anderson family, and their reputation was utterly destroyed. The string of negative press had a direct impact on the family's company stock. In a single day, their market value plummeted by over $3 billion. Watching all this unfold, I couldn't help but smile. This was real, tangible revenge, and it was deeply satisfying. I pointed to the system's data feed. See? What's the point of them just saying they're sorry? You have to make them feel it where it really hurts, their wallets. The system looked at the data, a sense of resignation in its tone. It had seen this coming, but it still wasn't used to my methods. Fine, it conceded. You're right. No wonder the veteran systems always said your best bet was to just shut up and watch the host do their thing. It was true. I've been with this host through so many worlds, the system thought, and I was still naive enough to think he might change. But just then, something incredible happened. The regret level of the entire Anderson family suddenly shot up to 80. The system was flabbergasted. Host, how did their regret level jump so high, so fast? I just smiled, a knowing glint in my eye. Just you wait. Empty apologies are worthless. True regret only comes when you lose something you value. Right now, they're regretting not believing the original Ethan, not treating him better. And that's why the numbers are going up. The process doesn't matter. Only the result. I crossed my arms, feeling completely in control. I was lounging in the rooftop garden of my penthouse apartment, lazily soaking up the sun. The light filtered through the leaves, dappling my skin. I idly flipped through a magazine, the pages rustling in the gentle breeze. The distant sounds of city traffic were a world away from my tranquil oasis. Every now and then, I'd glance in the direction of the Anderson estate, watching their public implosion with a growing sense of satisfaction. The protagonist is heading your way, the system's voice suddenly announced, shattering the peace. I raised an eyebrow and tossed the magazine aside. Let him in. A few moments later, Spencer burst through the door. He found me standing in the center of the living room, my arms crossed, a look of contemptuous amusement on my face that said, "About time you showed up." Spencer was live streaming. He planned to use this confrontation to clear the Anderson family's name and reclaim his position as their son. He stood in the doorway, his phone's camera trained on me, ready to capture every moment. He pointed a finger at me, his voice sharp with accusation. "Ethan, this is all you're doing, isn't it? You're just trying to make the family pay for taking my side." If he could just get me to admit it on camera, he thought, he might have a chance of getting back into the family's good graces. I just laughed, my voice calm and dismissive. Cause trouble for the Andersons? I don't have time for that. I'd rather be reading a book or filing another patent. I turned, walked over to the sofa, and sat down, looking at him with a mocking expression. "Maybe you should think about all the wonderful things you've done. The bullying, the tormenting, that was all you, Spencer. It had nothing to do with me." Spencer was speechless. The viewers on his live stream started to comment furiously. Every word I said was a dagger, twisting in his deepest wounds. He was suddenly struck by the realization of how foolish and shameful his actions had been. I watched him, a detached observer, feeling no anger, only a cold, mocking amusement. I knew in that moment that I had already won. "If you really want to save the Anderson family's reputation," I continued, "I suggest you start by taking a long, hard look in the mirror. Then maybe you can do something to actually atone for your sins." I stood in the center of the spacious living room, a mysterious violet light glowing in my eyes, a manifestation of my deepest power. A cryptic smile played on my lips. "But that's not what you're really thinking, is it?" I said softly. My voice was a hypnotic melody that hung in the air. Spencer's eyes went distant. At my words, as if compelled by an unseen force, he began to speak his true thoughts. His expression twisted, his eyes taking on a feverish, obsessive gleam. "I did nothing wrong. I just did what had to be done," he snarled. "That kid I bullied deserved it. He was trying to seduce my fiancée. What was I supposed to do?" His voice was thick with a resentment that suggested the boy was the source of all his problems. He suddenly burst out laughing, a wild, unhinged sound. "And all those classmates always saying how I wasn't like my sisters, how brilliant they were just saying I wasn't the real heir, weren't they?" His laughter echoed through the empty room, chilling and distorted. His face grew darker, more menacing. "I was merciful enough not to kill them, and they still dared to talk," he hissed. "After I'm done with that bastard Ethan, I'll take care of them, one by one." His voice was cold and flat, as if he were talking about squashing insects. He dissolved into another fit of hysterical laughter. "And those idiots, the Andersons, all I had to do was pretend to be the victim, and they immediately believed that loser Ethan was the one behind it all. They're so stupid it's almost funny." His laughter filled the room, a final, damning insult to the family that had taken him in. But as the last of his laughter died away, a look of dawning horror crossed his face. He stared at me, his eyes wide with terror. "What did you do to me? Why did I say all that?" His voice was a panicked whisper. I just smiled and pointed to the grandfather clock behind him. "I hypnotized you, of course. Made you tell everyone what you were really thinking." My voice dripped with sarcasm. The livestream chat exploded. "Hypnosis. That explains why he said all that crazy stuff. Spencer is seriously twisted. The real heir is a total badass." Seeing the look of pure panic on Spencer's face, I couldn't help but laugh. Spencer snapped back to his senses, realizing with a jolt of horror that the livestream was still running. A single, insane thought filled his mind. He was going to take me down with him. He lunged at me, his eyes red with fury. But what he didn't know was that from the moment his livestream had started, He had been flagged as a potential threat. Before he could even reach me, he was tackled to the ground by federal agents. "Mr. Spencer, you are under arrest for assaulting a federally protected individual. Please cooperate." "Let me go," Spencer screamed, struggling against their hold. "I'm going to kill him." The agents held him fast. "You threatened Mr. Anderson again, and we are authorized to use lethal force." By now, everyone knew that the true Anderson heir was not just a rich kid, but a genius of national importance. His safety was a matter of federal concern. Spencer thrashed on the ground, his face a mask of pure hatred. Why? Why does he get to be so perfect? In the end, Spencer was sent to prison on multiple charges, the most serious of which was the attempted assault of a federally protected asset. In prison, as fate would have it, he ran into the father of a girl he had once bullied. The man and his friends gave Spencer some special attention. His life became a living hell, a daily cycle of torment and regret. The Andersons, having seen the live stream, started up their apology tour all over again. But I remained cold and distant. I had seen through their hypocrisy long ago, and their apologies meant nothing to me. After the scandal, the Anderson family's reputation and fortune took a massive hit. Within a few weeks, their company was in a steep decline. 3 months later, they declared bankruptcy. Of course, their business rivals were more than happy to pick at the carcass. As for me, my talents earned me a spot at a prestigious national research institute, where I began a new chapter of my life. When the Andersons saw how successful I had become, they were consumed with regret. When the systems panel showed their regret level had finally maxed out, I just smiled. Everything had gone according to plan. And with that, I left that world behind without a second glance. When the original Ethan opened his eyes again, he was back in his world, but everything was different. The room was the same, but his mind was now filled with the vast knowledge and experience I had left for him. It was as if he had been given an unbreakable shield and an unstoppable sword, filling him with a confidence and power he had never known. He took a deep breath, feeling the vibrant reality of his new life. He accepted this unexpected gift, knowing it was a chance to start over, to live the life he was always meant to have. Ethan decided to continue on the path I had set for him, but this time, he would use the knowledge I had given him to face the world with a new maturity and wisdom. He knew that, with this new power, he could forge a brilliant future for himself. As time went on, Ethan settled into his new life. One day, he ran into the Andersons on the street. They were a shadow of their former selves. After their fall from grace, no one wanted anything to do with them. The three sisters, who had once used their power to bully and torment others, especially those who had crossed Spencer, now found themselves the targets of that same cruelty in their own workplaces. Their lives were miserable. Seeing them in such a pathetic state, Ethan felt a strange mix of emotions. He didn't approach them, didn't offer a word of comfort or scorn. He simply turned and walked away. He understood that everyone has their own path to walk, and his was leading him far away from them. Not long after, the Anderson family vanished completely. Ethan didn't ask why. He only found out later that Spencer's biological parents, driven mad with grief over their son's brutal death in prison, had broken into the Anderson estate one night and murdered them all. The news left him with a strange, unsettling feeling. To think that the once mighty Anderson family had come to such a tragic end. Life was truly unpredictable, but that was all in the past. It had nothing to do with him anymore. What mattered now was the future, the new life he would build for himself with the gifts I had left him.